Okay, hold on. Yeah, well, I think we're recording, I think. Oh, let's see. Are we recording? I guess. Okay. Okay, here's what I want to talk about today, guys. I've seen a lot on the internet about the Ford 4.6 V8 and the intake manifolds. Okay, I've been hearing a lot of things I disagree with. One major issue I disagree with: taking full aluminum intake manifolds off of these 4.6 V8s that are on your Ford trucks and swapping them out for what they call the modified version that's aluminum in front, but then the back section is all plastic. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you ever have a leak, at the intake area or on one of those, or even up by the thermostat, take one to a machine shop and have it magnaflux to make sure there's no cracks. If there's no cracks in that, and when it sets on a granite table and it's even, where it mounts onto that engine, put that full aluminum intake manifold back on that vehicle. What they're calling the modified plastic intake with the aluminum in front, those are pieces of shit. It's bad business. Don't do it. Now, most Lincolns and Marquis, and Ford sedans, they come with those stupid plastic manifolds. So if you have to replace one of those, at least go back with where it has the aluminum area in the front that holds your thermostat and your upper radiator hose. Okay? All right. Now that we're past all that hogwash, let me tell you something. When you get leaks on those, don't be hasty to go remove them immediately. If you have a leak, like around the thermostat housing, where it bolts down together, not where the thermostat radiator hose hookup is, but there's a seam there where the metal almost would want to leak on the plastic ones and the aluminum. Okay, just simply check all the bolts in that intake, including that area, and make sure there's snug. Sometimes the factory or a previous person doing a repair, they didn't torque them down all the way, or they may have just fingered one in and forgot to tighten it and torque it. Because I'll tell you all a story. It was in 1997. I bought an '89 Cadillac Brougham, came with the 307 Oldsmobile V8. And that car had 62,000 miles on it at the time. I noticed when I get to work the first few days I drove it, I would just open the hood and check the engine to make sure valve covers weren't leaking or something. And I noticed the front of the intake manifold on the left side, driver's side, where it bolted onto the engine head, a little bit of coolant would leak out of that. It would leak slowly out of it. So the first thing I did, I just got, a ratchet and a socket. And that son of a bitch was actually, couldn't have been much more than someone just tightening it a little, and it never been torqued down. It was probably never torqued down at the factory because you could still see the black paint where the bolt didn't look like it had ever been broken or removed. And I just retightened it. And then just to be for certainty, what I did is I bought one of those little capsule containers you can get at parts stores. It's called Alumasil. What it is aluminum metal shavings. And I just simply ran the car without the radiator cap on it when I was leaving work that evening. And then when that thermostat opened, poured that in, put the cap back in, and took off. And do you know that car today has 111,000 miles? It's the year 2021, and that has never leaked, people. And of course, I double checked all the other intake bolts. And there was also another loose one. It was like on about in the middle on the same size. But from 62,000 miles to 111,000 miles, and it still doesn't leak today. And I still use the car occasionally. So there you go, you know. Most people are too hasty, you know, about things. First, check the torque on your intake manifold bolts. All right. Okay, number two on those Ford 4.6. After I rechecked all the torque on my intake manifold bolts. All right, on those, you don't have a radiator cap up there, but you have a reserve tank on them. And then it has what is actually large rubber fuel line piece, same type, you know, hose that goes from that, you know, to the radiator, but you don't actually have a cap. All right, if you poured Alumisil in that, it's just going to hang down in that reserve container. That's screwed up, and it's not going to, it falls to the bottom. It's like sugar going to the bottom of the glass if you make a glass of iced tea with sugar. All right, so here's a solution. Let me tell you how to do that. Buy the same product, get like a couple of containers of that Alumisil. You know, it's not in a can, it's a piece of plastic, and there's no liquid in it. It's metal shavings. It works good. People have had a lot of good luck with that stuff. I know I have. All right, take your upper radiator hose off of that engine. Take the thermostat housing off. Take the thermostat out. And then pour that in right where the thermostat mounted up. Pour two of them in there. Then put the thermostat back in. That way, that Alumisil, those metal shavings will be in that intake manifold and not go down through your cores and your radiator to the bottom of your radiator and just hang there. They're going to be in that intake manifold. And you're going to do this after you recheck the tightness of all your bolts. Then put your thermostat back in it, thermostat housing, and the upper radiator hose. And make sure that your system is full at your reserve tank, plastic reserve tank on those. All right, restart it. Let the engine sit there and idle till the thermostat opens. Let it run about another 30 minutes and get good and hot. And then shut it off and leave it alone. Because, see, it'll be sitting there still with all that pressure in that system. And 9 chances out of 10, that leak is going to stop. And the fact that you retorqued it, it's going to stop the leak. And that's all you have to do. Now, of course, if that doesn't correct it, take your intake manifold off, you know, if it resorts to that. You know, but, you know, too many people are too damn hasty on stuff. And I'll tell you another thing on those 4.6 engines. I bought a 2002 Ford Super Crew Cab in 2015. Okay, that's 6 years ago, because it was around March, and March has already happened in 021 as of right now. And that oil filter adapter, where those are notorious for leaking, where they bolt to the engine block, where the coolant for the lower radiator hose goes through, and the oil from the oil pump to the oil filter, those are notorious. I rechecked the torque on those. It was okay. I bought a bottle of what's called Blue Devil oil stop leak. You know what? It worked. And that has not started leaking, and I've been driving it for 6 years. But, you know, I've got the gasket for backup, in case it ever starts leaking again. I'll take it off. You know, I've got tools. I do all this stuff. But I hope I've helped y'all, you know, out best I can. But food for thought, if you have a full aluminum intake like Ford trucks most came with on 4.6 engines, don't replace those with that plastic piece of shit, people. Plastic's not the way to go, okay? I mean, you know, those all aluminum intakes are bolting aluminum to aluminum heads. Yeah, that's the way to go. Okay, but anyway, you know, hope this works out for y'all.